Hi, I'm Avery, and you're listening to All Roads Lead To with Al and Jayné.
This is All Roads Lead To with Al and Jayné.
The place where we share and talk about the people, places, and passions
that have impacted us on the road of life. Hi, I'm Al.
Hi, I'm Jayné.
And this is a special bonus episode of All Roads Lead To with Al and Jayné, where we are celebrating season 1.
Yes, we made it to 10 episodes.
10
Very
episodes.
exciting.
And congratulations to you.
Yes, congratulations. We did it, babe.
We did it. Thank God and thank you, each of you who have listened, who have watched, who have supported, who have just been with us over the course of this time, where it really has been, I would call it a passion project, literally a labor of love.
Absolutely. And it's been really great to get such feedback. Like, we've gotten some really good feedback from friends. It was wonderful to have friends on and just to celebrate. Some people who have like kind of known that we've had this, bubbling idea, and then for them to join us, particularly like Evelyn and Keith and your cousins with like Dwayne and your brother Fab, who's always been like a media go-getter. And so that was just really rewarding and very refreshing, I think, particularly since we've been so isolated and haven't had time to get together with people. It was nice to have this way of connection. And then like I have friends, like childhood friends who came on. So it just was like it was like a intersection of like our lives from childhood to college to, work and married life. Like friends from all of those seasons, have been a part of this, have encouraged us. And it's just really been nice.
Yeah, it really has. And so during this bonus episode, we just want to kind of take the time, take you behind the road to all roads as we kind of got this thing going. And it's kind of in the midst of everything that we went through during 2020. I don't know when you're listening or watching or experiencing this episode. This could be the year 2030 for all we know. So we want to give you a little background information as to how we got going. We've been talking about doing something for quite a while. And we've had some ideas about this and that. And then came March of 2020.
Right. I think, when I think back, one of our friends, Jay, had a sports podcast that he started a long time ago that, you all were doing simulcasts and broadcasts of live games, of high school athletics and, doing kind of, I guess, ESPN, PTI type version of, a little back and forth. Yeah. And then I, was able to do some little spotlights and highlights of bios and things. And so that was really fun. And I think we got a taste of what that feels like. And you've done radio in the past. So there's different places I feel we've drawn from interest of saying, hey, like, it would be great to do more of this. Because I think the sports part was just always fun. And it's just like, it's a love, it's an interest, it's a hobby that we both shared. And so in different ways, I think we've found just whether it was going to games or doing things, it was an outlet. Sports had been an outlet.
And as you say that, I'm thinking about some of the things that we did and want to give recognition, shout out to the Lance J radio show.
Yes.
That we were a part of, and I guess we're still a part of in some way and everything. One of the things that we did a couple of commentaries for that. One was at the time when Muhammad Ali died. Yeah. We did a commentary for Father's Day as well. And with that, I can see kind of some of the roads that led to All Roads. The place where we talk about the people, the places, and the passions that have impacted us along the road of life. As you were saying that, I started to remember some of those things that we did then. And so, it's kind of like Jayné said, you pull from this, you pull from that, and kind of it all comes together after a while.
Right. And so I think even before that, I think about some of our favorite times. And one of my favorite people, Ashley, she was reminding me, she's like, when I listen to this, it reminds me of being back in your living room. And that was such a sweet compliment because that's another place I think where we talk about politics. Yes. We would talk about different, current events, and we could just go on and on just talking about, you know, our perspectives and different things. And so that's always been something that we both had a lot of interest in. It wasn't that if you start talking about history or politics, I would be bored, or if you start talking about sports, or so I would, you know, so we had a lot of the same interests that would lead our conversations. And when we have people over, we often were talking about sometimes to the wee hours of the morning. And it could also be movies. It could be, you know, so it was just, that's just always something that we've always loved and enjoyed with friends. It's just kind of staying up late talking, you know? And so that's something that you enjoy. You don't necessarily think that people want to hear that, you know? But as I think this podcast medium has grown, you start to listen to folks and say, hey, I enjoy hearing other people's conversations. And so you kind of feel, you know, this is an opportunity for us to share our conversations. And I think sometimes you also see or hear things that you said
that's true.
On television or somewhere else, and you're like, hey, that's something we were thinking. And so it was like, hey, this gives us a chance to do that. So I think those were some of the early seeds. And then, as you say, then you come into this place where there's like this sharp, hard, as they say, hard stop.
Hard stop.
And we're not commuting. We're not on the grind. And you feel like you want to make something of this time. And I think for me, the pandemic really just highlighted, it cut out a lot of the fluff and the noise and the distraction. And you realize it's kind of like you get bare bones of like, what is important to me? Who am I? What am I doing with myself? Am I where I want to be? Like, I feel like there's a lot of introspection during this time for me. And I recognize that that's a privilege, because often, and so many people who are keeping us going, the people who are stocking the shelves so that we can go get groceries, the essential workers in healthcare and in business, they're still moving. And a lot of them really don't necessarily have the time for introspection. That's true. The introspection during this time is a privilege, and we're doing it because other people are making it possible for us. And so, I just really want to shout out all the heroes and sheroes during this time who have helped to keep us going.
Absolutely.
But during that introspection, I just wanted to take, I think because I found it to be so valuable, I didn't want to take it for granted. I didn't just want to live stream or stream my way through this time and not do some kind of, quiet introspection. And so in doing that, I really felt a need to make this time count, I think, a little more, and not necessarily to do something for someone else, but to do something that was like pressing on my heart and in my spirit, in a sense. And so I think this is something that we had talked about that really blossomed out of, the hard knocks of this year.
Absolutely. And so, we were tossing about ideas. How could we do this? Let's kind of start a podcast. Okay, what will it be? What will we call it? And that was a whole process. But
it was.
We just started during the summer of 2020. We kind of went out in our backyard and did some tapings.
We did.
To call them some tapings, I think would not be totally we did a lot of tapings.
Hundreds,
probably over 100 takes, maybe 200 takes of different things. But there's something to that. Everything doesn't come out perfect on take one. The goal is kind of one take and get it done. I mean, I remember when I was working in radio during college, news would come off of the AP wire, and the real test was whether you could, cold read it and with no mistakes and everything. That wasn't that's not our testimony for this one. But we learned a lot though, and I think through that process, it kind of said, okay, here's something we like, here's something that maybe we need to work on. Maybe let's try this next time. So it was a process.
It was definitely a process. I was really excited because we had done a little video outside for another project. And I was like, hey, the natural light is great. Let's go into the natural light. And so that was already problematic because it limited the amount of time that we could take. It also required us to have to be, often we would be on the edges of daylight. So either early in the morning or late in the evening, because that's the time that we had available.
The sun would be going down
literally
by take 10 and everything.
Right.
So but I mean, through that though, we learned, got a chance to see ourselves, kind of hear ourselves, how we were sounding, things like that. So
right. And I want to shout you out because you, from the beginning, you were doing the cold takes. It was often me trying to find my legs with this that I think was causing us several takes. And I just want to shout you out. I think overall this year in 2020, you have really like held us down as a family. We're really here because you have taken on more and just really been resilient for our family. So I just want to say thank you for that.
Thank you.
And for this podcast, like we wouldn't be here right now. There's all this equipment around us. You ordered and researched and found what we needed to have the lighting, to have the just all the apparatus. I will say that the kids, and I want to shout out our kids. One is that we had always been wanting to get you a replacement camera. It's a long story about why you needed a replacement camera.
Maybe all roads lead to the new camera.
Yes, but it worked. I mean, it's just, that was actually one of those things that just started the road. Was we had really talked in depth about what we were going to do, but just as the demands of videoing for church and for other things, came into play, this turned out to be the perfect time. We really were just getting it because we knew you needed a replacement camera. So the kids were like, let's get daddy a camera. So we got you a camera for your birthday. And that really kind of got us going as we moved into the summer, because we had like the central piece to the whole, visual
Well, I was
project.
going to say that really this is also kind of a lesson. One of the, I guess we're going to do takeaways later, but this is kind of fits right now. It's kind of using what you do have.
Right.
And so at each stage, we kind of use what we had. And thanks to you and the kids, I was going to say that we got the camera. And so that really kind of was another thing that kind of kickstarted us down this road and in this direction, to be able to have something to record on, something to be able to do that. So that's where our takes in the backyard came from at sunset and twilight.
Yes. And you encouraged us to come indoors. And so I was slow to receive that, but we did come indoors where we are now and where we remain, so that we can get up early in the morning before dawn and tape, or sometimes late at night was when we generally find, I think our best takes have been in early in the morning. Like we try to do it before everybody wakes up, but sometimes I think we wake the kids up. But I just really want to shout them out too, because they were very critical, but I think very helpful in our early recordings. Okay. They were kind of laughing at it. They're like, this doesn't feel like a podcast. It feels like you guys are trying to, do like TV or something, or it sounds like you're reporting. And I think part of why we were, at least for me, why I was really interested in speaking to the moment was during the summer, following the George Floyd killing, so much of what we were seeing, even with our just a change in, I think, our climate, I just wanted to speak out about. Yeah. And I think I just wanted to just vocalize, I think, what we were saying internally, and kind of to vocalize and to just kind of speak to the moment. It just felt like it was something that required more than just private conversation.
Well, you want to go on record.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
Of where you are, how you feel, what your emotions are in the moment, because it was quite an emotional time.
Yes.
To see. And I know for me that we talk about, hey, well, if I was around in this time, what would I have done? If I was around in this time, what would I? Well, this is our time.
This is our time.
And as I heard somebody say, tag, you're it.
Yeah.
This is our time. And so part of this, we wanted to go on the record of some of our thoughts, some of our feelings. And again, as we said during our intro video, and Jayné talked about it earlier, the conversations that we've had, and we've had them all along. And I mean, we had a couple even the other day. I was like, wow, it'd be great if we could just tape these and get these on. Yeah. For not just for others to hear, but I think they're a part of what we do.
Right.
And so we have those all the time. So that is a part of the road that got us to All Roads.
Yes.
And so again, this is our bonus episode. We are celebrating. We are really looking back on episodes 1 through 10, and it's been a good ride so far. So when we think about, I guess, what we've done, how we've gotten here, are there any favorite moments so far?
Well, yeah, I can definitely think of some favorite moments. Before we get there, though, I just want to say that one of the beauties of this that I find is that it's given us a family collective that I think our children have been able to hear us talk about this, and now they're seeing us do it, which I think is a beautiful testament. I think they've been involved. They're very media savvy, very, savvy on social media in ways that we're learning that, we can learn from them. And so that's been great. And their feedback has been great. I think their honesty and their candidness, I think for me, definitely has helped, because you're definitely a natural and with media. But this has been something for me that I think, it's one thing to kind of say things and have, perspectives, but then when you're offering it kind of, for the record, you just want to be able for people to hear you and to be heard, I think, and to be heard as you intend. And so that's been something I've really, kind of had to work with a little bit. And the kids have been great at just giving honest feedback, even about sometimes our things that we want to talk about, or just their perspectives on things that really helped to center some of my ideas. So I'm just grateful for that it's been a family collective, just like a family enterprise. But the other thing about that's been really a favorite, I think, of mine is that this has been like a seed that's grown in a hardship, and I'm grateful. And as I said, I'm really grateful to you that you have buoyed our family over this time in so many ways, so that it has not been the hardship that it is for so many. But as I come into this new year, I've been thinking about some family members who have had health challenges. Yeah. And I see that, you have a lot of people who clamor and call, or, who you're spending time with. But when, you're in a dire strait, there's only a few people that you really lean in on. Right. And I think sometimes I recognize that some of those people weren't people who I was often giving time to. Mm. And so first, prioritizing family and really wanting to put family first in our daily priorities, but then also some friends and extended family who we weren't contacting or necessarily relating with as much as we would want to.
That's true.
And so I feel like it really just helped me to reorder. So I think through the podcast, honestly, it was a part of a bigger process. And so I think it's still ongoing. And I think for me, I'm just hopeful that I don't want to major in minors. Like, I really want to continue this. I don't want this just to be for the moment. Yeah. And when I think about the podcast and favorite moments, my favorite moment, and this shout out to our friend Jennifer, who really was like, hey, do you guys have something on, the election? Like, there's so much that could be said once, we got the election results, which in and of itself was just different for, so many days after election day. And I just feel like that first episode really brought it all together with us talking about Delaware. It just brought so many things together, and it was so neat because it was so organic. I mean, we had literally taken our kids to that children's museum, across the parking lot from where President-elect Biden and Vice President-elect, Kamala Harris were speaking. We had, driven those roads and just, really experienced a lot in that time. And so I just was really excited. That was really my favorite moments. I feel like it all came together.
My favorite moment, I think our lives on Thanksgiving. That was it for me. That was a favorite moment because it really brought a lot of the people, as you said earlier, so I won't repeat what you said, but that really brought it all together for me and everything. And my favorite episode, I would have to say, is probably All Roads Lead to L.A.
LA is definitely my favorite too.
Yeah.
I miss LA. I miss the people that we visit in Southern California. Yeah. So that was, it gives me a good, warm fuzzy, I think, just even talking about it. And since we can't get back there right now, it was nice to be able to talk about what I really enjoy and what I'm missing. And I really was grateful for so many people who it seemed to enjoy that episode because it was one of our favorites to do. So it was nice that,
and I think really the timing of it with the championships for the Lakers, for the Dodgers, I mean, that's kind of was an intangible. And just kind of as we were talking about what could we do and kind of with our process, going back in that, we kind of have sat down, we've talked about some things like, okay, what could we talk about? Mm-hmm. What are some things that have been conversations between us? where do some of the roads lead to? And that just literally just happened to lead to one thing, to the next, to the next, to the next. And so as a part of our process, we sit down, look at a couple of topics and everything, kind of look at, okay, hey, what can be our angle? What can be our takeaway with this?
That's true. Al likes to wing it, though. Al likes to just jump in front of the camera. He's like, let's just go out there.
I wouldn't say I like to wing it as much as I just kind of like to be in the flow.
Fair enough. That's fair. And I think the cool thing about that is that stretches me. But I also do like to kind of talk things through a little bit. And I'm really honest. I like to be scripted. Like, I like to know A is going to lead to B, is going to lead to C.
No, but that has been a part, I think, of what has benefited us. Jayné's, I think we're both organized people, but Jayné's sense of organization and structure have kind of led us to kind of the path where we are on right now. So yeah, so I definitely try to stretch and be open. And I think even right now, like we talked about, this is the 10th episode. We saw on one of the feeds that, hey, congratulations, 10 episodes. Yeah. And so we're like, hey, this is a good culminating point for the season. And so we said, and so in talking about that, this led to, hey, let's do a bonus episode. Actually calling it a bonus was our daughter's idea. Because we ran a few things by them, and that was their idea. So so right now we don't have another line that's planned, which is a little probably different from what I'm most comfortable with. But we have kind of looked at an outline, I guess, in a sense of like where, things that we want to talk about. And I think we've done that mostly each episode now, where, as you described, I think we kind of first have listed out different things that have just interested us. We've definitely wanted to talk to people and talk about current events, but then also what has mattered to us. We both met at HBCU. There's just been different touch points that I think that we wanted to continue to explore, but we tried to just, I think first I kind of just identify like, what are some of these? And that flowed out of coming on record, I think this summer of, issues and things that really have been, haven't been addressed in the media as much, but that have been a part of our lives. Yeah. And I really found it interesting, even, coming after the killing of George Floyd, of how many Black men had talked about their experiences with law enforcement. Yeah. And so the narratives and talking about your experience and giving validating and confirming other people's experience was something that I really feel passionate about. Yeah, there's I'm going to use a big word here. There's an interconnectedness that really takes place with a lot of these things. And so it's not just only, like you're saying, what we saw where a man was murdered in front of our eyes. It's encounters with the police. It's people being willing to tell about what they've seen. It's situations of extreme wealth or extreme poverty that lead people to be in the positions that they are. So it's more than one thing. There's an interconnectedness to.
And I think the pandemic is highlighting that and is kind of magnifying and spotlighting that. And so I really wanted us to be able to incorporate that. But then there's so many things about our life that we enjoy that we also want to talk about that are, I guess, just entertainment and just experiences and travels. And so, we were trying to find a road. Do you just go down this one lane or do you kind of mix them together? And I think it was a great point where we're like, hey, we could do it all in a sense, Yeah. And so that whole phrase of all roads leads to Rome, I think really kind of brought that together for us. Was, hey, this was, a city that was known for athletics, but also it was a center of trade, politics. There was a lot of religion close to or surrounding the city in a sense with, and so there was so much that I think we wanted to explore. So that's what we've done. But I think what does it look like for us? What would you say, like a taping week or a week in the life of the podcast?
Week, that's a great way to put it. A week in the life of the podcast comes with many times, if I'm truthful and honest, Jayné saying, okay, we need to kind of talk about what we're going to talk about. It's time for us to have our meeting. And so we will talk about, okay, this is what we want to talk about. Here is what we are aiming to highlight with this episode. We'll pick a time when we tape again, as was stated earlier. Early mornings tend to work better for us, even though we've taped at all times of the day. And so we will tape our episode. We've gotten down to 1 take and 2 takes for some things. And then we'll go back, and then the production process begins. And well, even before that, sometimes we'll have to do some research, because if it's something that we're talking about, we need to remember if it's some specific things. So with the last series that we did, All Roads Lead to Remembering, some of the highlights in 2020, I kind of had to go back and do some research, remember some of the specifics about some people. And then a lot of those places, again, finding those points of connection for us, tape our episode, then come back, and then it's a process of taking the video, putting it in the audio format, using the audio extractor, so to speak, another big word, taking the audio up, getting that together, syncing everything. Sometimes there may be, again, you may not see it, some background noise, or you may hear it, some background noise or something else that we're trying to do that. So that's kind of a process, putting that up and then uploading it to our server and getting it out to you, getting our show notes together. Trying to think, is there anything else? Again, making sure that everything is good. I mean, a couple of times, quite honestly, we've had some good ones. And then realized that the mic was not on, or something like that.
The camera, like the recording time ended.
Yes, or the recording time, ended, or something like that. Also, took time to get some of the highlights that you may see on YouTube or Facebook, getting those up. So all that takes a little time, and it's a part of the process.
It is. And so I think, Al, you're shortchanging yourself, though, because I will find Al many times, finding new things with the equipment, and he'll be down days in advance, really, of a taping, and kind of getting things. We're looking at a screen now. He put some things up on the TV screen and has, the laptop connected. So he does a lot of behind the scenes. I think I do like the production meeting, as I like to call it. But I just like to be able to say, okay, let's come and let's, kind of order our steps, because part of this is time will really get ahead of you. And before you know it, it's another week and you haven't had a podcast. And there was a period between Thanksgiving and Christmas where we put up the lives that we did, but then we got, really kind of just life got really I don't know. I think we just really start prioritizing the holidays and different things, and just time really slipped by. And so I think for me, it's just a thing of, this is something that we both say we want to do. And I find that if we can give it some time early in the week at an early time in the day, that it helps us be able to streamline, hopefully, the process. Because as you described, it's a lot, and it can easily start to become overwhelming. And I think it's one of those things, almost like a resolution, where it's like great in the beginning, and then the more you do it, it's not that you don't enjoy doing it, or it's not something you should do, but it just kind of ebbs away, and you start to find other things that take the time and the place. And so I think my thing has just been wanting to keep us prioritizing it, because I think it's still a priority, but sometimes it doesn't become a priority of our time. Yeah. So that's why, and I think we're still trying to find our way with that, because as the year, kind of is starting, we're starting a new year, and kind of back into a different routine. You want to be able to keep this. So I think the key in this is having like a cue a little bit, or I think just coming on live. So I think those are two things and that's something that Al's talked about too a lot, is just coming on live, and then it streamlines some of that production piece. So and
then we get a chance to be there and connect with you as well. So the road ahead, what are we looking forward to? What are you looking forward to?
Well, I mean, one of the things that I really cherished about what we've done, and particularly these most recent episodes, was in just taking a pause and really looking at the lives of of people who we've lost. And I really felt that, often at the end of an award show or at the end of the year, you start to see these pictures scrolling or names scrolling of people who we've lost. And I just felt like there was such towering figures, such impactful people in my life, such stunning losses, shocking losses this year, that I just really wanted to personally take some time to reflect and to, really acknowledge them, as well as to say, what am I learning from what they've left? How can I build on some of the things that they've done? When I think of a John Lewis, I just really, as you said, this is our time. Like this, he did the work in his generation, and we're in another generation, and their work really will last only as much as we and our generation push it forward and continue to make it enduring. Yeah. And I feel a burden for that, because I do feel a passion for much of what he fought for. And so personally, I've been challenged of, what am I doing? What can I do better to really help to, in my own space, help to carry forward the work that so many civil rights and voting rights and activists have done to make our democracy better. So that was, something that was crucial for me. And then Chadwick Boseman's passing was just so shocking.
Yes.
And there were so many lessons. I mean, we talked about some of them, and I just really wanted to acknowledge it, because I think we talked about just the loyalty of people around him for him to allow him to have the privacy that he wanted. I just thought the way that he lived, I think well before he knew this, he was very intentional about the choices that he made with the roles that he took on. And I'm just eternally grateful that, our children have a Marvel hero that came alive, at a time, and they had seen a president that looked like them. This is just a time that I just appreciate what he did in cinema and entertainment to add to, I think, the possibility of there's no barriers and there's no limits to what you can do as a child growing up. And so I was just very, just reflective of his walk, and that I found that he was just really intentional in his living. And so, and I think, in his craft. And so that was something that really resonated with me. And then, we didn't have a chance to acknowledge it, but I think to Joe Clark, and just the impact of that movie, Lean on Me, and just of, I think to me, one of the principles that I take from this, in a sense, is that often, and even with parenting sometimes, I think often your love sometimes you don't want to discipline, because discipline and, kind of hard stops and no's sometimes are harder, and it causes you to work, and you really have to, follow through. And sometimes the yeses are easier. But I think one of the things that I've learned is that people who have really loved me have been willing to be honest, and also be willing to say, hey, that's not your best, or that, to really call things as they see it, in a sense. But because they want the best for me. And I think, that's a takeaway that I think I took way back when on that movie, which was like one of the first movies that I think you have like a good story a little bit, or Lean on Me.
Lean on Me. It was a movie that a substitute decided to show in school one day. Okay. And everything. So I thought that was funny that the substitute would show that.
Right.
Hey,
right.
This is, we're going to show you this movie, so you guys stay in line as well. Yeah. And everything. But remember, we used to see Joe Clark walking down the street in Newark, New Jersey from time to time.
Very true.
So. Yeah.
And then I think just finally, the other person that really kind of stood out for me was the passing of Ruth Bader Ginsburg. And, there's so much about her work and her impact from from her law career to being on the bench and being on the Supreme Court, her dissent. But the thing that I think really, one of my real strong takeaways from her life was that she was a devoted wife and mother while fighting for opportunities for women to have opportunities in the workplace. Yeah. And that was often, I know, particularly working in law and in the legal profession, that often women, I think, were encouraged, in a sense, if you want success, that you may have to trade off your family, or that, in order to be successful, this is, most successful women often delay or deny themselves family. And so I just thought it was such an encouraging, I think, example, because I think you kind of search for this having it all. And I think, and talking with a lot of friends, we kind of see that you may have it all, but not all at once. And I just thought she was a really beautiful example of seeing how that could manifest, even at a time where she really was just opening doors in the first, woman in so many contexts throughout her career. And yet she was still able to be a devoted wife and mother. And I just found it to be a very encouraging model and example. And so that, has been part of what I wanted to do, and what I was excited about with those episodes really was to highlight and be able to acknowledge in a way that I felt was much more meaningful than, just kind of a scroll line. So, yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I am looking forward to more roads on All Roads Lead To with Al and Jayné. Looking forward to some of the interviews that we'll have. We got some really dynamic people we want to really bring and just have conversations with as well. So it's going to be great. Season 2 is going to come your way, and we hope that you will again share, let people know that we are here and we're live and we're making it happen.
Yes, I'm looking forward to deep dives. I want to take some deep dives maybe on some of the things that we've talked about. But I'm excited about interviews and meeting more of the people that have impacted us and people who we look up to.
That's right.
So, yay, season 2 on the way.
So I want you to go back and take a listen and hear some of the things that we've shared. We've got more that's planned for season 2. So we want you to stick around for All Roads Lead To with Al and Jayné. Thank you for joining us for this bonus episode.
We are so glad to share our podcast with you. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and on social media.
So please listen, share, and tell a friend about All Roads Lead To with Al and Jayné, the place where we talk about the people, the places, and the passions that have impacted us along the road of life.